Hello everyone, my name is Haley Farrell and I'm going to be doing the Gjerdrum, Norway landslide. So on December 30th, 2020, a large landslide happened in the village of Gjerdrum, Norway. This small town is about 15 miles north of Oslo. The landslide started early in the morning around 3:45 a.m. when the ground suddenly broke apart. It created a huge hole that was about 300 meters and 700 meters long. Many houses and roads were destroyed. Sadly, 10 people died and several others got hurt. About 1,000 people had to leave their homes and find somewhere else to stay. Rescue workers used helicopters and drones to look for people who were missing. This is one of the worst landslides in Norway in a long time. So just before 4 a.m. on December 30th, 2020, a massive quick clay landslide struck the village of Gjerdrum, Norway, about 25 kilometers north of Oslo. The slide tore across approximately 300 by 700 meters, crushing homes, ripping roads, and creating a deep crater that swallowed several buildings. Several residents shared their experiences. 68-year-old Oystein Gjerdrum told NRK there are two massive tremors. Then the power suddenly went out, and a neighbor came to the door and said we needed to evacuate. So I woke up my three grandchildren and told them to get dressed quickly. Meanwhile, Yitil Aman, who lived just meters from the slide, told TV2, I was woken by the sound of a helicopter flying overhead, and the police called us to evacuate. In another eyewitness account shared by NRK, one survivor said, I put on my headlamp and walked over. Then I saw only a huge hole in the ground and many houses were gone. So this is a picture of kind of like the area that was impacted by the landslide. So geological assessments later showed heavy autumn rains had saturated the clay, weakening the slope above the creek. Once a small bank failed, the quick clay liquefied, spreading the collapse through a retrogressive mechanism that carried soil and debris far downslope. So as you can see in this picture, just a huge part of the land just basically collapsed, and it's almost kind of like a sinkhole, but it was like a landslide as well. So the tectonic setting of Gjerdrum, Norway, um, so it is located far inside the Eurasian plate, away from any active plate boundaries. The closest one is the mid-Atlantic ridge off the west coast, where the plates slowly move apart about 2 centimeters per year. Because of this, Gjerdrum is in a stable area with only smaller earthquakes. The faults are old cracks in the Earth's crust that can move under stress. Most of these faults are either normal or strike slip faults caused by forces pulling the crust apart or sliding it sideways. So the geological setting of Gjerdrum, the landslide happened in Gjerdrum, a small town northeast of Oslo, Norway. The area has low hills, forests, farmland, and small streams. There are no big rivers or mountains nearby. The ground here is made of marine clay, mostly quick clay, which formed after the last ice age when the land was under the sea. Over time, rainwater washed out the salt that held the clay together, making it unstable. Quick clay looks solid, but it can suddenly turn into liquid when hit by heavy rain, erosion, or construction. On December 30th, 2020, the ground failed, causing a large landslide that destroyed houses and land. There were small landslides in this area before 2008 and 2014, but none this big. Norway has other quick clay slides, like in Rissa in 1978, which is also Norway. So the geologic causes of the landslide. Um, so glaciers and oceans. The area was under the sea after the last ice age. So layers of the marine clay, which is quick clay, built up on the seafloor. There's land uplift and fresh water. Over time, the land rose above sea level. Rain and rivers washed out the salt that kept the clay stable. This made the clay weak and sensitive to disturbance. Steep slopes and erosion. Small rivers and creeks eroded the land, creating slopes and valleys. This increased the chances of landslides. Heavy rainfall. Norway gets a lot of rain and snow, so there was a lot before days leading up to the landslide. December 2020 had heavy rain and snowmelt. This added extra water to the ground, making the clay even more unstable. Trigger event was December 30th, 2020. The ground finally gave away, turning the quick clay into a flowing liquid. The slide moved fast, destroying homes and land. So human interactions, human influence, building and development happened on the quick clay, even though the area had small landslides before. So, um, they had landslides, before this happened, but which meant they probably should not have built on that land, but they did anyways. Um, Construction and changes to drainage may have made the ground more unstable as well. So if they were doing any work on that land, it was creating more of an unstable area for houses to be built on. Some of the lessons that were learned for them was do not build anymore in known quick clay zones without full safety studies. Pay attention to small landslides as warning signs for future landslides, and monitor ground movement more closely. Future strategies, better mapping and zoning laws. So maybe not building houses in areas where you don't know about the land that's under those houses. Early warning systems for ground movement. So again, if there were landslides in the past, maybe take that as an indicator not to build on top of that land. Evacuation plans for high-risk areas. So just as we have evacuation plans around here for earthquakes, they are implementing more evacuation plans for events like landslides and how to kind of prepare for that in the moment. What's kind of scary about that though is just as earthquakes as well, landslides will just come and happen out of nowhere with not a lot of um, signs like days before. So that's kind of what took this town off guard. What geologists learn. So, better mapping tools. Geologists use new technology like electrical resistivity mapping to find hidden quicklay layers without digging. Improved prediction models. Computer models were tested to simulate how and where quicklay landslides happen. They are now more accurate for future warnings. Understanding slide triggers. Studies showed that stream erosion, heavy rain, and past small landslides were warning signs. The main trigger was erosion at the bottom of the slope near a creek. New safety actions. Norway now focuses on better hazard maps, stricter building rules, early warning systems, and erosion control. Government and community policy changes. The Norwegian government increased funding for cleanup and prevention, charged local officials for not acting on warnings, and set a Vision Zero goal to stop deaths from quicklay landslides. New rules require detailed geotechnical studies before building and stronger erosion control. Community and business actions. Developers must now conduct thorough ground testing before construction. Some insurance companies refuse to insure homes in high-risk quicklay areas. Stream banks near vulnerable spots have been reinforced to reduce erosion. Recent hazards and learning. No major landslides have occurred in Gjerdrum since 2020, but smaller slides in other parts of Norway confirm quicklay remains dangerous after heavy rain. Residents now pay closer attention to warnings, and some temporarily relocate during extreme weather, improving community safety. So the conclusion, the Gjerdrum landslide happened because of unstable quicklay that formed after the last ice age, when the area was under the sea. Over thousands of years, fresh water slowly washed out the salt that held the clay together, making it very weak. In December 2020, heavy rain and erosion caused the ground to suddenly collapse, destroying homes and land. Human activities like building on these risky soils and changing drainage patterns made the situation worse. Dis- uh, since the disaster, geologists have improved ways to map and predict quick landslides using new technology and computer models. The Norwegian government has updated safety policies, including stricter building rules, better hazard maps, erosion control, and early warning systems. Communities and businesses are now more aware of the risks and are taking steps to reduce danger. The Gjerdrum landslide teaches us how important it is to understand local geology and carefully plan land use. With these lessons learned, Norway aims to prevent future tragedies and protect people living in landslide-prone areas. Okay, and this is just my list of references, so thank you, everybody.